Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to Manful Yoga. In this video, I'm going to show you my routine for using yoga to warm up for squats. So the goal of this routine is to get your hips, your core, and your ankles ready for squats. We're going to do that by working into your hip mobility a little bit, by making sure that your hips, your glutes, your hip flexors are active, making sure that our core is engaged, that we're maintaining that uprightness or that good posture through your core so that we stay upright in the squat. And we're also going to work on the ankles a little bit. So make sure that we've worked into the ankles, into their mobility, and making sure that the ankles are nice and open and ready for the squats. So let's get into this. First thing we're going to do, you're going to lie on your back. We're going to work on getting your core and your glutes active. So lie on your back. So we're going to start with a bridge. So your arms are along your sides, your feet are about hip width distant, knees and hips hip width distant as well. Push down through your feet, tighten your abs, lift your hips off the ground, and squeeze your hips together. Now, sometimes in a yoga class, you'll be told to relax your glutes. I don't want you to relax your glutes at all. Fire your glutes, squeeze your thighs, push down through your heels. Make sure that you have a straight line from your knees to your shoulders, so your ribs are drawn in, you're not arching your back, keeping the abs tight. One leg bridge. So bring your right leg straight out, hug your left hip in toward the middle, and get a little bit of external rotation. So you're squeezing your hip in and then externally rotating to really fire that glute. And you're just going to do a couple breaths here. Your goal is not to deplete your endurance or your strength, but just to make sure that muscle is turned on. Switch sides. Right leg is down, bring your left leg out, and again, that right hip squeezes in toward the middle, and then that external rotation, so the top of the hip starts to face slightly out, and your hips come up just a little bit. One more breath here. Press down through the heel even harder. Lift, and then release. From here, we're going to move up to a standing position and work on opening up the hips. First one is a high lunge. So super simple exercise. Right foot goes forward, left leg is back. Push down through your right heel. Get that glute nice and active. That is the most important muscle that we want to use in the squat. Your quadriceps are probably going to turn on no matter what, but it's difficult to get those glutes to engage if you spend most of the day sitting. So you're going to keep the back knee slightly bent at first. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, sink into it. Feel a nice stretch to the front of the left hip. Just one more breath here. And then come into a one-leg balance. Push down through your right foot. Bring your left knee up to hip level. Stand up nice and tall. Shoulders are stacked on top of the hips. Go ahead and bring your arms up so we're opening up through the chest as well. Practicing posture for when we do the squat. Just one more breath here. Again, moving through these pretty quickly. I don't want to tire you out. And then stepping back to a warrior one. So left foot faces out 45 degrees. Square your hips toward the front. Right hip pulls back. Left hip pulls forward. Push your right hip toward the ground. You're going to feel a bit of a stretch through your back ankle and through the calf. That's our goal. And you're also going to feel some opening through the front of the left hip. Bring your arms up. Again, opening up through the ribs, getting that posture correct and open before we do the squats. One more breath. Sinking deeper with the exhale. And then relax. Switch sides. Left foot forward, right leg back, starting off in that high lunge. Left hip presses toward the ground. Right hip engages, so we're going to squeeze the right hip flexor. Soften the right knee a little bit. Just allow your hips to sink forward, so we're working deeper into this pose, getting some mobility through the hips. And then tightening that back thigh, so squeezing the thigh, lifting the knee, working deeper into the hip. We don't want to increase mobility too much here. We just want to work a little bit into it, get the muscles warm. You shouldn't be significantly increasing mobility while you're doing this warm-up. All right, and then into the one-leg balance. Press down through your left heel, bring your right knee up, stand up nice and tall, push down through your left hip, and then bring your arms up. Again, get nice and open through the ribs. Make sure your shoulders stay stacked above the hips. We don't want to lean back at all here. You're going to feel this in your left glute. You're going to feel this in the left thigh. One more breath. And then step back to warrior one. Right foot faces out 45 degrees. Squeeze your legs toward one another. Push your left hip toward the ground. Pull your right hip forward and up so the hips square as straightforward as possible. And you're going to feel that stretch through the calf and through the ankle. Again, try to lift the arch of your foot away from the ground, and push into the outer edge of the back foot. Arms can come up. Using the exhale to sink deeper into your hip. Just one more breath. And then relax. We're going to move down to the ground, work a little bit more on the ankles, and open up the hamstrings. So we're going to go into a plank position. And then from here, we're going to move from kind of a down dog tuck to a down dog. So you're going to bend your knees toward the ground, push your hips back, press your shins toward the tops of your feet, so stretching your shins, or actually engaging your shins, and then pressing back to a down dog on an exhale. Inhale back, so knees come toward the ground, not touching, shins pressing toward the feet. And then again, exhaling, back to down dog. 3 more of those. Inhaling down, working into the ankles, keeping the arches engaged. Exhaling back to down dog. So we're working a little bit deeper into the hamstrings with every breath, but we're keeping this dynamic. This is not a static movement. And then final one, inhaling down, pushing your heels toward the ground, pressing your shins toward your toes, and exhaling to down dog. All right, go ahead and flip over onto your butt into a seated position. We're going to do some boat. Bring your feet in toward your hips, about 1.5 feet away. Press down through your feet. Lift your legs one by one just to engage your hips, and then bring your arms up. Lift your chest up and lean back. The reason why we're doing the boat pose here is to help create that lift through your chest. Because when you do the squat, the tendency is going to be to fall forward like this, especially when we've got that weight on our back. So you want to make sure that you're lifting your chest up and keeping that space from the hips to the ribs. So we're practicing that right now with boat pose. 2 more breaths here. You're going to feel your hips engage and your abs engage. Try to point your sternum up at the ceiling. Just 1 more breath. And release. Go ahead and stand up. Take your feet out wide. Move into a warrior 2. So pressing into the outer edges of your feet. Turn your right foot to face out. Sink into your right leg. Knee above the ankle in the front foot. Back hip pressing into your front hip. Legs squeezing toward one another. Ribs lifting up. Right glute engaging. So externally rotating the right hip, feeling that muscle engage, right? Your right buttock engaging. Arms come out. Just a couple breaths here. 2 breaths. Feeling opening through the groin. Sinking deeper with the exhale. 1 more breath. All right, and then straighten that leg. Turn it in. Turn your left foot out. Sink into the knee. And again, our goal here is more so on muscle activation than on improving mobility. Our goal is just to get the muscles nice and warm. We're not trying to press beyond our flexibility or press beyond what we normally do in terms of range of motion. If you press too far, you're actually going to decrease your performance. So just focus on the muscle building or the muscle activation aspects of this. Don't press to a point where you're really increasing your flexibility. That's not what we want to do with the warm-up. Just a couple breaths. Legs squeezing toward one another, tailbone reaching down, making sure the abs are active. Legs squeeze toward one another to engage the inner thighs, and you're externally rotating that left hip to engage your glute. All right, go ahead and relax, and we're going to practice a squat. So this is the last part. You're going to turn your toes to face slightly out or straight forward, just depending on what you're used to. Our goal is to get our feet facing as straightforward as possible. We're going to keep the chest up, just like we did for that boat pose. We're going to use that ankle mobility that we did to make sure that we can let the knees come forward and keep the heels down at the same time. And let's go ahead and sit down. So keep the chest upright. Big inhale. Exhale, sit down. Hips go below the knees. Make sure the weight is equal in both legs. Glutes engaging. Chest is upright. Again, just like boat pose, keeping your chest away from your legs. 2 more breaths here, that's it. Getting your glutes tight, feeling the fronts of your shin engage, right? So allowing the heels to stay on the ground planted firmly, but also knees can come forward a little bit as long as you're keeping your butt back and your chest upright. And then without leaning forward at all, go ahead and stand up all the way. Tighten your glutes. and you're ready to go. So that is my yoga routine for warming up for squats. If you're watching this in the members area, thanks for being part of the Manful Yoga community. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, thanks for watching. I hope you found that beneficial. I also have a video coming where I actually show you how to do the squat. So that might be on YouTube, that might be on Facebook, definitely be in the members area. To learn more about the members area and all that I do there, head to manfulyoga.com. It's $1 for a 7-day trial, and that gets you unlimited access to all of my content. All right, guys, thanks for joining me today. Make sure you like this video, share it if you found it useful, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for joining me for this workout today. Make sure you subscribe. We put out lots of videos like this on a very regular basis. And to get full access to all of my workouts, my programs, tutorials, and more, head to manfulyoga.com, sign up for a 7-day trial. It's just $1. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video.